The coronavirus emergency. Tonight, hundreds of Americans are flying home from Japan, where they have been trapped on a cruise ship for 2 weeks as more and more of their fellow passengers got sick around them. A convoy of buses pulling up to the Diamond Princess after dark. The Americans greeted on board by officials in hazmat suits. The bus is finally leaving the dock under heavy security. Passengers peering out of the windows on those buses as they left. 2 charter planes, you see them there, waiting at the Tokyo airport. One headed to a military base in California, the other to a base in Texas. All of them facing another 2 weeks, all facing another 2 weeks of quarantine. The Diamond Princess, with more than 350 confirmed cases, saw the biggest cluster outside of China, while inside of China, some 760 million people, more than half the country, are reportedly under lockdown or travel restrictions. ABC's Maggie Rulli starts us off in Japan, where she saw those American passengers depart.
Tonight, most of the Americans trapped on board that quarantine cruise ship now flying home.
Well, we're exhausted, but we're on the plane.
This is the announcement they were waiting for.
Now calling only those American guests from Emerald Deck.
Relief finally arriving after an agonizing nearly 2 weeks in isolation aboard the Diamond Princess.
Goodbye, Diamond Princess.
Americans lining up and boarding more than a dozen buses today. Officials in hazmat suits on board, checking for symptoms of the new coronavirus.
This is it. These are the buses that so many Americans on board have been waiting for almost 2 weeks. These Americans are finally heading home.
Today, 70 new cases of the virus have been confirmed on board the ship, bringing the total number of infections to at least 355, the biggest cluster of cases outside China. The saga for these passengers far from over. Once home, those Americans will face yet another 14-day quarantine at 2 military bases. The evacuation's happening amid new concerns after another cruise ship carrying more than 2,000 passengers and crew docked in Cambodia. An 83-year-old American woman testing positive for the virus. Her husband has pneumonia. This after hundreds of passengers from the ship had already departed to several countries, including the U.S. The virus has now claimed more than 1,660 lives and infected more than 69,000 people worldwide, mostly in China. Tonight, China's President Xi Jinping under fire. The New York Times reporting squadrons of neighborhood watchers in China are monitoring people's movements, enforcing the quarantines, spraying the streets with chemicals. 760 million people in China, more than half the country's population, are now facing lockdown or travel restrictions.
All right, Maggie Rulli joins us now from Yokohama, Japan. And Maggie, we know dozens of Americans could not get on those 2 flights home after some tested positive for the virus and others are even refusing to evacuate.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And authorities are closely watching all of the Americans who got off of this boat, looking at them for any potential signs of this virus, because we know at least 44 Americans have already tested positive. And Tom, for any of those that chose not to evacuate to stay on the boat, they're not allowed back in the United States until at least March 4th, but that's at the earliest. Tom?
Still weeks away. All right, Maggie Rulli for us tonight again from Yokohama.